Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Conquest. Wow, this has been a while, but now I'm back with another video about First Blood 2.0. GenCon has brought us the great news that you all have been waiting for. That's right, the new game mode, which is First Blood 2.0, has been officially out with an accompanying army builder also, so you can check it out already. What are some of the interesting builds that you have for your First Blood army? If you did not know before, First Blood is using the same model as Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings, just at a much reduced skirmish scale. More emphasis on squad level combat and lower points where each individual character and unit will contribute a lot more to the engagement. If you already have Conquest: The Last Argument of King model, then you are already eligible and play this First Blood 2.0. For those who haven't, First Blood is a great start to your Conquest journey. With the new edition reveal, there will be a major change between the previous edition from 1.0 to obviously 2.0. In this video, I would like to highlight 5 key differences between the previous edition to the new one. So strap on tight and let's get to First Blood 2.0. Characters no longer cost point. Now this is huge. In the previous edition, characters cost point, and it's proving to be a tax unnecessary to the building process. With the new edition only allowing you one character to lead your army, it has given consideration that these characters are free, that you would like to personalize your regiment with retinues and upgrade instead. This is a cool change in my opinion, which will give you some additional models on the battlefield, while having also room for your character customization and really getting into what your character would like to be represented on the field. In the previous edition as well, retinue can be seen as somehow an unimportant upgrade because of already how expensive your character is, but now bringing things like combat retinue, arcane retinue is a great deal for your character that will give you a lot of stats boost and also gives your character a lot more fighting prowess. No reinforcement rolls is huge. Now, this is with a smaller model count. This is a rule that was seen as a big question mark in 1.0. When we're seeing that, you only have, for example, 4 or 5 regiments, and then you need to roll when are they coming out with already a smaller base anyway, tends to be leading to some circumstances where your reinforcements will arrive in at around 3, 4, or even 5. In Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings, the reinforcement rail is there to represent the army slowly marching to the side of the battle, with your skirmishers coming in first, establishing your line of fire, establishing some small-scale combat, establishing your foothold. Then your medium comes in with your objective grabbers, and finally your big hitters like your cavalry, your monsters, and your brute coming in to sweep the opposition. Now, with already a small model count in First Blood, this rule makes sense to be removed, and now that you would deploy your models at the start of the game will streamline the experience and make it seem that it's more closer to a lot of other skirmish games that we have. This is a very nice rule that they are removing, and I'm very glad to see that they've taken into account the lower model count and the experience it would have to the players. Now, character personalization for me is a huge selling point of this edition. In The Last Argument of Kings, your character can sometimes be seen as just a person leading the battlefield. You would buy the character because you want to have certain supremacy or to unlock certain troop choices, regiment choices. So they're more sort of like they're there because of the sake of them being there, instead of you're bringing it for their actual combat potential or their actual ability that's on a battlefield. Of course, I'm a Scum Spire player, so of course I brought in the Biomancer as always, because the Biomancer has the bestest Ferromancy. Now, in this edition of First Blood 2.0, each character benefits from having unique command ability attached to them. Now, I'll explain more in the next different key selling point, but now your character have a lot more personalization. Your mimetic assassin now finally feels like an assassin that dashes around and tries to kill the opposing regiments. Your imperial officer can command army from far away because of his mastery of the tactics. your tempered sorcerer making your automata counts as having more models because of his mastery of how he builds his construct to be custom made, because he is very good at managing the elementals. Now, it's a unique take on all of these characters, and as you can see through the different entries in the army list, that each of these characters have their own sort of little fluff, even though there are no more sort of, restricted or mainstay option. Each character has sort of their own little signature units. Like, for example, in Old Dominion, your strategos have more affinity with the Katapraktoi because he is a master of the cavalry tactic, and also Atanatoi as well as the Varangian Guard. So there's a lot of these cute little interaction that happens that expands the role of the character, and I think this is a very, very great change. One of the rules that was sort of, it was draw event, but not really, that was taken from Last Argument of King to First Blood 1.0 was command. Now, command works as if it's a draw event, but not really, because you need to be within a certain command range from your person issuing the command. But the uniqueness of these command was sort of just translated directly from their Last Argument of Kings. Like, for example, Fire in Advance was a command, Bastion was a command, Fury was a command. Now in 2.0, command has taken a life of its own because of how unique they are. And they have a significant army in how your army operates. As much as like character customization, command suddenly becomes the decision whether you want to include certain models or not. And even some of your army leaders, your army leaders, like the one that you attach onto your regiments, they all have their own sub-commands as well. Now, these commands can now literally be the difference between a victory and a massacre, and how you actually use these commands and making sure that they are a part of your army and you're using them in the right moment. A reworked resolve rule. Now, this is also a huge change from 1.0 to 2.0. And part of the reason why the large changes is that in 1.0, your resolve was sort of checked in a table wherein if you fail a morale test by X number, you get extra wound. Now, this was designed this way because of how wound itself was done in 1.0. Each infantry essentially having only one wound. So, for example, if you take the Last Argument of Kings resolve, resolve modifier or resolve rule, and you transplant it to First Blood, you'll essentially get twice the casualty because how the resolve would operate. Now, a big change in 2.0 is that number one, your infantry has 2 wounds each, and then brute cavalry have sort of their own wound profile depending on what model they are. The resolve test is then reverted back to the one that they used for the Last Argument of Kings. For each test that you failed, you suffer 1 wound. Again, I think streamlining the experience between First Blood and Last Argument of Kings, and also while having sort of a distinct thematic difference, would be sort of like a key going forward. And I think the designers are trying to sort of combine the two systems together, finding out which works for like a mass combat and finding out which works for a smaller scale combat, and I think it's a good step in the right direction. I know I said 5, but here's a bonus 1. Broken matters a lot more. Now, you've played The Last Argument of Kings. If you haven't played Last Argument of Kings, please play Last Argument of Kings. Broken in Last Argument of Kings is very, very scary because of how with a broken plus shattered, you can, have a very large point swing, very large swing to your army. Your army can be destroyed, your character is dead, blah, 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 blah. Now, in First Blood 1.0, the penalty to a unit being broken is not that significant. Let's take a look at the rule in 1.0. If you're broken, your halfway becomes shattered. Yeah, that's the same thing. You will always use the lowest resolve characteristic and -2 to their charge distance. While scary, because of course if you lose half more of your unit can entirely get wiped out of the planet of Ea, but most of the time it's just a minor problem really, because you're thinking, alright, my unit's about to die anyway, let's just inspire and punch, why the hell not? Now, in 2.0, broken suddenly is a super scary state. Number one, you cannot charge, you cannot use inspire, and you cannot seize objective. Plus, as an insult to injury, you also cannot restore casualties nor benefiting from a commanding presence. Now, this is huge, since being in a broken regimen means that you're almost as good as dead, which, represents the brutal facet of combat. If you mistime your unit, you could just essentially be destroyed, because suddenly then your Ferromancer cannot heal, your Biomancer cannot heal, your Wadrun Matriarch Queen cannot heal. Of course, some character can play around this rule by having the ability to rally, but certainly you want to avoid this as much as you can, being broken. So what does this mean? Is either you invest in a large block of squad, or you invest in a smaller squad anyway, so that if you're broken, you get less penalty from it. But of course, as a conquest player is, you really want to sort of get rid of broken as soon as you can, because now the disadvantage is so much worse than it was in the previous edition. So that's it, guys. My 5+1 highlight in the title, major changes from 1.0 to 2.0. If you guys are interested in First Blood as a topic, then we can dedicate a few next videos in discussing what are some of the interesting army builds that we have for each of the faction. Keep in mind that the website itself is still in beta, so there might be some unexpected errors, and of course some rules are still not translated very well. The other thing that I would like to highlight is that a lot of First Blood 2.0 was being playtested by the playtester, but they want to sort of push it out during Gen Con, so they got the massive reveal and they can do some massive playtesting in there, so to demo it to people. But the rule itself is still being worked on. We have a lot of playtesters who's being involved in the process, and we will identify whatever changes that we need to do, some rule balancing issues that we have. So have faith in the playtesters and have faith in the company that will deliver the bestest product that we have. Until next time, I'll see you boys and girls, and have a good one. Bye for now.